I really love that photo in there of Mike Rozier and mid juke. I just think that is so cool. Just mid hip shake there, and knowing that somebody probably just hit the ground without laying a hand on him. Yes, let's enjoy the past. Welcome to Huskers Happy Hour. I'm not sure how happy we're all going to be tonight, but I think we're going to have some fun because we sure didn't have much last Saturday except for the gallows humor, around the bar, the living room, wherever you happen to be. But let's get started. Welcome, everybody. I see everybody's still filing in here. We already got the comments lit up, so we might just jump there first before we do anything. I'll just lay it out for you a little. I'm gonna try and I'm back from my Durango trip. I'll share a few pictures of that to hopefully the mountains put us in a little bit of a mellow mood when we get started tonight, because that's going to go away fast. We'll go over Ohio State, lose a little more hope there. And then what I really want to do is let's just tear into it. 56-7, beat down by Indiana. Sucks. There's no other way around it. It kind of made everybody hit the reset. I think the signs were there. I'm going to throw a few of those out there tonight. But once we get going, I'll try and take it like kind of subject by subject of, hey, what's really fucking up, or is it a combination of a bunch of things? Quick answer, yes. And then I want you guys commenting. We're going to read them. We're going to talk about it all. And we're going to get it all out of our system, right? Because there's another one staring us. I think, what are we now, 24.5-point underdogs to Ohio State? And if you watch that Indiana game and realize Ohio State's a more talented team, we could be in for another one of these things Saturday. Wonderful weekend to be a liquor salesman or a bar, because I think that's the therapy a lot of people are going to turn to. So anyway, let's just see what we've got up here for comments. Anything interesting here? Let's welcome some people that got in here. Highlander Gun. Let's see. Justin Rogge. Let's see. Roger San Antonio's in here. Gavin Robertson. Fred Sacco, who always provides us our rated material, and our John Johnston abuse, our editor-in-chief. I see there's a Joe Lilicus. I hope I got one of those right. Welcome, Joe. Pitt's here. Pitt Snipe. Pitt exclamation point is here. Charles Hullett. Nebraska Strong. Go Big Red. Hey, go all in with the name there. And I'm sure we'll get a few more as we're going. So let's see what people have been saying here as I stare off to the side at the comments. Joe asked us, do we have any guesses for the OU on the over-under for OSU points? Shit, right now I think solid over-under. It just depends if Ryan Day's in a forgiving mood, and I don't think we're on his shit list. So I'd probably 42, because you don't want to jump right to the 50s for over-under, although it wouldn't be the worst. Fred Sacco, hey, Joe, last I heard the over-under was pain. Joe says, I hear that, but if Husker D can keep them below 56, it might be an immoral victory. Oh, God, here we go. Let's see. What else we got? How likely is it Ohio State to shut us out? I don't think they'll shut us out. But God, we'll get into their numbers and you'll realize it's very much on the table. Good. Somebody likes the intro, and good. I was just using that song to test out, to make sure I'd figured out, how to lay it in over the montage and everything. Yeah, and it jumped. And I wish Miley was on here, because I love kind of using like today's hip phrases from an old guy, because it drives kids nuts. Just so Miley could come in here and go, Miley, this really slaps, doesn't it? It's fire. And you just watch her go, oh God, Dad, stop it, shut up. Tuck that one away. We're gonna do that. Fred Sacco was having some wine out front, cursing passersby, channeling my best John Johnston. That's the thing. John didn't really curse the passersby. he chooses to curse his friends and loved ones. So let's be fair there. Oh my God. And last night I was sitting there, I was watching myself take my first fantasy loss of the season in my Tiger Tom's Bar League. And it's because I had Chris Godwin and an 8-point lead against Mark Andrews, who's been forgotten. Fast forward two Mark Andrews touchdowns later, I'm 6-1. Oh well. But there was one guy who was just in there who just showed up. He apparently had bet some first half points thing on his Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was wearing his Tampa Bay Bucks jersey. And it always seems like grown men wearing football jerseys are the ones most likely to throw a monster fit. And he was throwing one the whole game. And I finally just opened the iPad, put the noise canceling earbuds in, because if I heard him say the NFL is rigged one more time, and I think he was up to about 37 or 38, this shit's rigged, the NFL's rigged. I'm not sure what they'd want to rig about a Tampa Bay Ravens game, but I threw up a Ndamukong Suh like greatest plays montage or whatever, video, and it was just wonderful. And I was getting, that's so funny you mentioned that, because I was getting all worked up that he didn't win the Heisman. And he would have been the first true defensive player to win the Heisman, not a defensive player who won the Heisman because he played on offense some. So anyway, it should have been 4 Heisman Trophy winners, and the perfect time to trigger me. Was it Andy Kubert cursing Ketterson? Oh fuck, Fred, this is not news to anyone. Justin Rogge, this is really a t-shirt here. The past is all we have. Oh God. Andy, you're red-eyed again. Got up early this morning. I got back from my vacation, but I got up early today and went on a hike and never really got the nap in, so probably a little tired. And this will help it a little too. Along with Propel, I figured I should, try and add Sailor Jerry to my list of potential sponsors. We'll what that baby is needed as the evening goes along. Am I right? Let's see. I think we should just chop block the Buckeyes the whole game. It's really weird. I don't have anything against the Buckeyes that much. I don't know. Michigan just annoys me more because they're more of like a poofy daddy's money type of place, whereas the Buckeyes, their fans come in wearing like jorts, some BK high tops, a David Boston starter jersey, and they're looking to key the cars of any out-of-state plates. So I don't know. If I have to choose who I dislike more, it'd probably be Michigan there. Let's see what else we got here. Nope, not this time. Although when I go through these pictures real quick, don't worry, there won't be a 5-minute talk on each one or anything that annoying. But I will show you one place where the last 3/4 of a mile or mile, the trail was just gone, and I actually did just have to kind of map my way to the home stretch there, and then map my way back out to where I could find the trail again. So that was fun. Didn't get lost though. Weirdly kind of knew where I was. I predict our defense will rush 3 and get no pressure on the quarterback before he completes a career high. Yeah, I mean, what do you do there? Because there's no hiding. There's no just blanketing one receiver. They've got Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka. So, there's really nowhere to hide there. I'm sure there's a few 4 or 5 stars lined up behind those guys. So do you drop everybody back? Because, man, if you try to blitz, you better get them quick because somebody's getting open. Let's see. Zebras are going to give us bullshit calls anyways. We might as well do some damage since the calls are going against us. I don't know that we need to injure them to get back. I don't think the officials are going to feel revenge if we injure Buckeyes and then they get to legitimately give us calls. Here's the thing. In a 56-7 game, there's really no bitching at the refs. They stomped us. It's when you're getting hosed in those 1-score games. Then I've said I've just given up being the nice guy who's going, must overcome the refs. It wasn't the refs' fault we lost. Yet, screw that. I'm just like, hey, this is the only thing I can do is put into internet print in my articles that these guys are bought, paid for, whatever. That it's just not. It's more than just incompetence, and I have my fun that way. It's a great stress reliever just to go. You know what? They do suck, and they do screw us. So yeah, I don't think they're going to need the bullshit calls. Yeah, I noticed no one's got upset vibes this week, which may be when it happens. Because it seems like when no one's expecting anything, that's when the upset happens, right? Or it's when Mike Riley's coaching, the tickets are going for like $5 on StubHub or whatever, and they beat us like 66-3 or whatever the hell it was. Over under on 10-year senior Ben Hart, false start Saturday. That fucking guy, we got to purge the frost air offensive line guys, I guess. I'm not going to bark at Ben Hart. He did let a few guys by, but man, since Rule got here, he's a different guy. He was just a revolving door before, and he played his way up into third team All Big Ten last year, and he's improved. I've stopped bagging on him. I don't think he's our biggest problem on the line. Let's see. You can it tells me you can barely read. Yo, why do you do this without your glasses? Have a damn drink and get comfortable. I've got my contacts in, man. Give me a break. I want to know how Ryan Day keeps his beard dyed so well. I want to know how he's not. I mean, he's got to be just a functional alcoholic with those ruddy red cheeks, right? It's either that or he wears rouge, and I'd really hope you have the drinking habit at that point. Rule stole Day's hair dye and replaced it with touch of gray. It's like cutting Samson's hair. OSU is screwed. I'm not afraid for him just yet. Let's see. Oh yeah, we all abuse the ones we love. It's an extension of adolescent splitting. No, it's fine. Yeah, like I said, we'll see how red they are at the end of the night. Wait, they're not so red. I think I'm all right. Oh, here we go. What about the Texas student section throwing beer and then they reversed a PI call? Just for anybody that doesn't know this, I'm a Georgia fan as well. If Nebraska's won, Georgia's my 1A. My dad went there. My uncle went there. I grew up a Georgia guy, and in a weird twist of fate, I now have I believe he's a cousin once removed, but he's Georgia's backup quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. Look for him to start next year. It's not by blood, but my aunt is his grandmother, and my uncle married her after she was widowed. So Aunt Kay is grandmother to the Georgia backup. And I was really getting scared they might put him in against Texas because, God, Carson Beck was awful that game. But yeah, I don't think that pass interference call were as bad as they were making it out. It's really weird. At least Colorado has to be getting beaten to the dirt before they start showering the field and getting their students kicked out. These guys just got a bad call, and the sense of entitlement coming from the Big 12 to the SEC had to be jarring. They didn't. Their little no horns down, is allowed against poor Texas, where you had the special Big 12 rule that horns down is unsportsmanlike conduct on the other team. That didn't follow them to the SEC. And then here came a call in a big game that didn't go their way. And oh my God, these entitled little bitches just started throwing their water bottles, anything they could get their hands on. And the controversy came because the referees, a few minutes into this cleaning up the field, Sark running over to beg the students to stop, the refs decide we're just going to review the penalty. And some of them got caught watching the replay on the big screen, which you can't do. And penalties aren't reviewable. I guess the guy can pick up the flag, but you have SEC, man. It's like, I saw where they're fining them. They're telling them, we want you to use your stadium cams to figure out which seats they were coming from and ban all these guys from Texas events. But right now for that game, those refs sent basically a precedent that, hey, you delay the game by throwing a bunch of shit on the field, and we can go ahead and talk over that penalty we just called because we're getting booed, so maybe we should rethink it. It was the biggest pile of shit, and it just got worse as the game went on. 2 Georgia guys got thrown out for targeting. One, as Nebraska fans have seen over and over again, one where a guy just buried the shoulder in the guy's chest, textbook tackle. And by this time, Fowler and Herbstreit are in full Texas cheerleading mode. And they're going, you put that head down. And the rule says you put that head down. It's like, how the fuck are you supposed to put a shoulder in a guy's chest without lowering your head? It was baffling. I was so glad Georgia hung on so the night wasn't a total loss. But yeah, what a bunch of little bitches you are, Texas. I'm so happy that, and now they're starting to cry about how being in the SEC, so all these memes are coming out. They were doing the video of Bradley Cooper in The Hangover, Texas after losing to Georgia, and it just had him doing that part. He goes, "Yeah, we fucked up." And so that was pretty funny. You wouldn't have thought they dropped to number 5. The way they were acting, you would have thought they were just out of the rankings altogether. It was funny. Fred Sacco. Yeah, never forget. Northwestern still has to have something coming down for all their weird naked nonsense. Yep, you know what else slaps buttocks at Camp Kenosha? Hey, let's get naked and touch each other. Northwestern. Welcome to the Penn State era. Let's see, what do we have? Yeah, Saturday was a perfect storm from James Marshall of Indiana excellence and Nebraska looking ahead to Ohio State. I doubt that Nebraska will look that bad again. Well, I hope they were looking ahead to Ohio State. I really, really do. It would be stupid, and I think that's one of the things that that I guarantee you the coaches were like, focus on this game now, and if the players were actually looking ahead, might that oh God, what do they call it, the whole team building, whatever, it needs some work if you're looking ahead when you're playing a ranked undefeated team. G.I. Jakob says, listen up, Buckeyes and Cornhuskers. No matter how bad you have it, you ought to remember it could always be worse. Depressed Oklahoma State fan. Yeah, but they seem to win 9 or 10 games every year, so I get it. They're not in a great mood right now, but I don't think they've quite hit our level of desperation. I mean, now we're the only team in the Power 5, or I guess Power 4, but plus Power 5 previously, to not have gone to a bowl game in the last 8 years. So tack that fucker up on the wall next to the only basketball team in, like, the Power Division conferences. Maybe it's Division 1 or whatever, I don't know, but that has not won an NCAA tournament basketball game. I feel like that's gonna happen. We'll see. Let's see. Fred Sacco, Sailor Jerry propelling Andy to greatness. Look at Fred Sacco with wordplay. I'm out of propel tonight, so it's the Gatorade rehydrating shit which I've been trying to do since Colorado. You know what, Charles Hullett, I was going to say, you got to let that Sailor Jerry croizen. That is fine croisening. Tell me if you're old enough to remember which brand claimed to be croizened in the old commercials. And Pitt, Andy, you are home. I think so. I used to own that couch. I think a few people owned this couch before I did. I've been meaning to get a new one for about probably 10 years now. And this damn thing's just so comfortable. But yeah, it's gonna go soon. Let's see what else. Well, here's an interesting one from Tiger Shark Diver. Welcome aboard. Buckeyes are supported by Lex Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein's billionaire boyfriend and main donor of OSU. Yikes. Okay. Maybe there's a t-shirt there, but let's get to where we can play within 10 of them again. Rush 10. What you got to do is you got to rush 10, and they got to make those noises like the Troop and Stripes when they were doing the outdoor obstacle course. And there's the ace. No, Captain Stillman, here come your men, and they're coming down the hill. John Candy just goes crashing through the woods. Another dude tries to run along one of the logs and just slips and racks himself. And yeah, that's what we rush, making those noises like water boy noises. We might get an incompletion out of that from making Will Howard laugh, but that one time we can do that. One time. Yeah, fuck, we were sending 5-6 guys versus Indiana, and we were more ineffective than Frosty after a case of whiskey dick. There we go. Fred's in full gear now. Enough wordplay. He's coming with the whiskey dick jokes. Let's see. We're back to Jeffrey Epstein's Ohio State booster buddy. No, seriously, he owns like half of Columbus and has part of the school named after him. He was the only client known to Jeffrey Epstein and had his power of attorney. God damn. Let's see. Should we start this game with an onside kick? I'd rather do that than try it with like a 10-point lead in momentum. Looking at you, Frosty. Hates my contacts. Upgrade my contacts. Maybe I'll get some with like the little like skull and crossbones or something like that. Damn it, that's all. I'll get black shirt contacts. Let's see. Choo. Challenge accepted for booing and throwing shit on the field. Great. Let's see. SEC Shorts just put out a video with the rest of it. Perfect. Charles Hullett, it smells like bitch in here. Glad Georgia won. That's the thing. It's like, I always said, your team's good if everybody's starting to hate them. And now I have friends like, God, I hate Georgia. And it's like, guys, save the true hate in case we go on an Alabama type run. And if they win 7 of them in 12 years, right now, just pray that they can, because they've still lost 8 out of 9 to Alabama, I think, including the most recent one, or maybe that made it 9 out of 10. Where they're not there yet. Let's see, Fowler and her street, watching their wives have sex with their boyfriends. I don't know. Let me know when that's happening, because I'm going to sneak and steal Ben away. Ben's a sweetheart. Let's see. Texas fans are definitely high water fans. Us Huskers fans still pack the stadium after 20 plus years of futility. Hey, and one thing, and I wrote about it in the recap. I think they said that was like Indiana's 8th sellout in the last 100 years for football. And we might have been responsible for that sellout, because if you watch those stands starting like mid-late third quarter and then definitely in the fourth quarter, it got worse, is you saw huge chunks of empty seats in that stadium. Guys, there's no Indiana fans leaving that game early to try and get to the bar. That is every Indiana fan was there to go nuts. That's their biggest win in God knows how many years. No one was leaving that stadium. We sold that stadium out. And thus ends the talk about, hey, what went right? Let's see. Roll down here. Oh, Pitt, I know you weren't hating on the couch. Geez. It has, I think it's from the 80s, but it still has a 60s, 70s feel. Would Cornhusker fans, G.I. Jacob, maybe it's Jacob. I go Jacob because I'm thinking of the Norwegian 1500, 5,000 runner Jakob Ingebrigtsen. And I know that's how he pronounces it. So I'm guessing on that side. If it's not, apologies, throw a note in. You'll be Jacob. Would Husker fans be happy or even just content with making a bowl game, or is there higher expectations for Rule in year 2? Well, let's throw this out there. I also threw this in the article. All of a sudden, the bowl game is right back in the danger zone. At 5-1, I get it. It felt like, hey, we're there, but at 5-2, and here's our remaining schedule: Ohio State, USC, UCLA, Wisconsin, Iowa. UCLA doesn't look like a lock anymore either, does it? After they beat Rutgers, and Rutgers' win has looked worse now for 2 straight weeks. And we were thinking even before the season, Rutgers was a great, hey, this is maybe a scary, tough team, and maybe Nebraska's biggest chance at a loss in the first 6, and Illinois is 6-1, and Indiana's 7-0, and Rutgers was what started 4-0 and been tailing off since. So, the bowl game's not a done deal. It's not. With Wisconsin's destroying teams that we're scraping by, bad teams that we're scraping by. Iowa, even though their offense still technically isn't great, they're putting a lot more points on the board than last year, it feels like. So maybe they've leveled up a little. They've definitely got a running back And I mean, he was probably there last year, but he's almost to 1,000 yards this year. There's not an easy. There's not our. Hey, we're going to a bowl yet. I have a feeling we're going back into fingernail biting mode. I still think, just based on how, and I base this on how Illinois is doing, and how tight that game was, and how we had that one in the bag, is we'll find out starting not necessarily this weekend, but after that, we're probably not 56-7 bad. So I feel there's three winnable games of those five. Not we're gonna win. I just said winnable. I feel like USC is winnable. Southern Cal has not. You just don't know who's going to show up there. UCLA is still very winnable, and I think Iowa's still winnable. So I don't know about Wisconsin. I guess I'm throwing Iowa in. I have to throw Wisconsin in, but definitely don't take that for, hey, it's 4-0 time. We're winning those. That could easily be 0-4. Heileman's old style did the Kreuzening. I did look it up. It wasn't Lowenbrow. If you looked it up, I'm going with you. I couldn't remember if it was old style or Lowenbrow, so I was kind of fishing for an answer there. So good enough. How Nebraska strong, go big red. How about we set up NIL deals so players get money deducted for each embarrassing loss? Well, here's the thing. If the school gets to start paying the players, now you can start putting limitations on things. I don't know. Will they put performance bonuses in there? That opens up a whole world, and it makes everybody more responsible. The NIL, I know this wasn't really an NIL bitch, but with the NIL, I've always been of the theory, no one can touch that. It's technically them just going out making money on their name like anybody else in the country did. And I feel a big part of that settlement should be telling these guys they can't have jobs or endorse anything in college as long as they're leaving the university out of that. That was just absolutely ridiculous, and it did nothing to stop boosters giving people money or bullshit jobs or whatever. Anyway, there's my rant on NIL. I kept that one close. I kept that one quick. Fred Sacco says the gin has kicked in. There's a new shirt. James Marshall, Nebraska didn't take Indiana seriously. It was obvious by looking at their body language. The amazing thing was Nebraska never woke up once they got in a hole. No, even at the beginning, I was like, this doesn't feel like destruction yet. I got a real bad feeling. Well, one, when they had the goddamn surrender white jerseys on, I was like, how do you do that in a game like this? I get it. We deflected with the Corn Nation Twitter by just throwing that out there, and we literally had two people on the same feed, tweeting for Corn Nation. We were arguing with each other, and it's like, well, those things aren't responsible. It's like, yeah, but when you need everything to go right, why do you put your worst superstition out there and just keep forcing it down people's throats? 2 times now I've been called like, oh, shut up, old man. Like I never understood the logic in that, where I'm like, let's get rid of this 40+ year like dumb fuckery because we're like 7-14 with these white jerseys, and let's toss them out. And one of the biggest comebacks I got was, hey, we're 500 since when the white jerseys since Pelini. Wouldn't you love to be 500, the last few years? Like, so the defense is we've been 500 with them for about 15 years. And, well, we're not anymore. We're 1 game under 500, so that's gone. But it's like, no, it's like that's our shoot for the stars. Hey, we've got a superstition that we'll win 50% of the time. I want that thing damn near undefeated. Surrender whites. Let's be like Ted Lasso, get a set of those whites, burn them in a trash can while everybody else throws in some bad luck piece of crap they've had around their whole lives, and do a Ted Lasso burning and get rid of those things forever. But the other bad feeling was when Barney decided to field that ball and wander out at the 1. I'm like, oh boy, our heads aren't in the right place. I know he's a freshman, but he's not a freshman anymore. We're 7 games in. He's a big part of the offense. He's not a freshman. He should have known better. That's it. I've seen a couple comments about Satterfield's press conference and something he said there. And before I saw any of those comments, my son had texted me, and I'm going to show you that. Fuck it, let's do it now. So here's the tweet. I think it was Barstool. Let me get rid of, hold on. Hide that. Okay, now it won't be as cluttered. Nebraska offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield says his target is 4 to 6 yards per play, which would be one of the worst offenses in college football. Well, the funnier part happens is my son texted that to me, and here was, oh shit, where's this comment? Can we not see it? Oh, there it was. I had it up there by mistake at the beginning. Yeah, there's my son. I scream into the void. I have a way of going like, hey, that's a t-shirt all the time. And I want that whole thing on a t-shirt, even though it's Barstool and they're a bunch of twerps. They do find some funny stuff like this. Sorry, I just can't stand Portnoy. And that's hilarious. And then and then I want my son and with his little text emoji there, and I scream into the void. Yeah, I screamed into the void too. That was just awful. Let's go down a little more before we get out of the comments here for a little bit. Projection now is Duke's Mayo Bowl. I saw another one too, one of those mid-level bowls. So I guess the bookies are still convinced that we're winning that sixth one. But guess what? They were last year too. They had us bowl projected until like a game or two to go. I think that we need Jim Moore as our head coach. It would be better. It wouldn't excite me. I don't think Jim Moore is going to come in and pull a Signetti. By the way, old Kurt, he has produced the team we thought we were getting when Scott Frost came in and went to his first Big Ten media days. Frosty rolled in there. Remember that? Hey, how is the conference going to adjust? How are you going to adjust to your style of play to the Big Ten? Oh, the question is, how are they going to adjust to us? And that all went up in smoke. Signetti came in rolling just as hot. He came in. I never get picked last for a conference. You know, he did like Division II, James Madison and all that. He goes, I've only been picked twice in my life to finish last. He was like, one time we went 8-4. The other time we played for the conference championship. He goes, I want to play for the conference championship. I didn't come here to finish last. And he's rolling in hot. And you've seen him. He is just annoying as hell. But I'd be fine with an annoying as hell coach if we were 7-0. And fact is, he's done it. The schedule for playing us, the schedule probably got a bump up because I think power ranking wise, we were still like 28th or 9th. So that's going to bump them up from their difficulty level of the schedule. Tiger Shark Divers, he's still positive as can be. We might make the Durex used condom bowl. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, big mistake, Nebraska going in the Big Ten. Should have stayed in Big 12, Big 8. Yeah, I truly can't stand the Big Ten conference at times, just because we thought, the whole thing was, let's get away from this Texas nonsense. And then everybody wanted to get away from the Texas nonsense. And then Texas wanted to get away from their own nonsense. And now they want to go back. Big 8 be fun to be in right now. You'd still have a seat at the table for the championship. After Indiana, I'm thinking maybe Mountain West, and let's just go in there, try and be a Boise State, recruit well, go 11-1, and then demand to be in the playoff. No, speaking of the Mora voice, because I was saying, I guess, a Jim Mora Jr. ball game. Are you kidding me? I just want to win a game, another game, ball game, playoffs. Yeah, man, FCS playoffs. Let's see. Yeah, I was thinking Jim Mora Jr. like it was a serious thing. Oh, damn you, Sailor Jerry. Yeah, other than sacking Rourke on the early fourth down, we had no excitement or splash plays. We didn't. We just yeah, I was willing to give Satterfield the benefit of the doubt because he had so little to work with last year. You just every pass was a freaking coin toss if we'd even keep the ball. Yeah. Anyway, tell you what, let's get rolling. Let me show you the picks real quick. Just be running around in the mountains, and let's see. This was the first day. Oh, once again, got to get rid of that comment. There we go. Hide. Bingo. All right. There, if you've ever traveled to Durango, south, like from south central to southwest Colorado, there's this wonderful drive at a bit white knuckling, Wolf Creek Pass in a few places. It's got little, look out the window and you're staring down the side of a mountain. This is up at the actual pass, and now the Continental Divide Trail, which you can kind of see over my left shoulder in the picture. You're right. Actually crosses the highway and then goes about 850, 900 feet up in a mile and a quarter or so. So it's fun to hop out of the car, take that little hike, get a view from up top. And so that's where it starts. And then here's where it kind of peaks off and then continues on. And I had this little grassy peak behind me, felt like I'd run up that, and then realized looking down that some care would have to be taken or I'd be taking a picture of myself bleeding, but nope, all worked out. Second day in Durango, you've got this, it's called Mount Smelter, where you hike basically about mile and a half, but more like mile and a half or 2 miles up to a couple of radio towers. And this splits Durango. Like there's Durango, the old town behind me there. And in the other direction is kind of their shopping centers, Walmarts and stuff like that. And this just kind of cuts through the middle of town a little bit. Really neat view. Over the left shoulder again, look up on that plateau. There's a Fort Lewis College. And when I first saw that view, the first time I ever hiked up to this bluff, oh man, I was like, I would go there and I really wouldn't care what their fields of study were, their emphasis. I just want to spend my days at a place like that. The next day, I went and hiked up to this lake, Lake Eileen. Nice view up there, but the better view was they have the local reservoir, Vallecito Reservoir. And after getting up about 300 or 400 feet, there's just a nice view there over the shoulder. So I thought I'd throw that in. The next day, I did or 2 days later, that was Sunday. Saturday, I just watched college football Saturday and enjoyed my life. Because there's only about 2 true sports bars in town, and every year I go there, I end up watching some football at this place, Steamworks, on a Saturday, and I just run into fans from all over. This year, hanging with a couple of Texas fans, a Tennessee fan, and then remember Jeremiah Searles? Met his little brother. Met Jeremiah. I believe it was Michael. Very nice guy. I believe it was his girlfriend. If it's his wife, apologies. Very nice people. Had fun talking with him. I wasn't shocked because I've met Nebraska fans in there before, but I've never met a relative of a Nebraska player. So good times running into Michael Searles. So anyway, the next day I do an 11-mile round tripper. I end up. And really, this was the end of the trail. The picture doesn't do it justice. It was a real take your breath away view, and you only get it like in the last probably 40, 50 yards. You come around kind of a knob, and there it is. I took a picture of myself there too to prove yes, that's actually me, not some postcard. And I actually got sleeted on about 3 times that day. The trail started at about same as Wolf Creek Pass. It started after a 9 or 10 mile ride up a mountain dirt road, which is kind of harrowing at times, and then started at 10,800 and finished at about 12,400 feet. And and it was probably about 70 when I left Durango, and it was about 45 when I crested that beauty. But yeah, great hike, just beautiful view, and it wasn't as stormy really as it kind of looks there. The sun came out on the way down. There were a lot of high mountain fields that the trail went through, but beautiful times. I wanted to go hike the next day at this place called Mullis Pass, which is probably close to 12,000 feet. It goes on a highway north of Durango, another harrowing drive. On this day, it was probably about 33 or 4 up there. This is a drive that on Highway 550 that leaves you gripping the steering wheel pretty tight. So I took some pictures here quick and got the hell out of there because I didn't want to deal with that thing freezing. And this was on the way home. This is Wolf Creek Pass 9-10 days later. I got to drive home through a little it was just mostly wet. They did a good job, so I wasn't sliding around on a mountain pass. But you can see it was the first snow of the season, and you can see it up on the peaks in the back. So anyway, Thanks for suffering that. Isn't that relaxing? Now let's talk about damn football. Okay, we're going to go over the Ohio State game real quick, and then it's time to unleash on the damn Indiana game. We can do that for a while. So, Ohio State. Let's see. I mean, actually, instead of just barking it at you, here we go. They are 6th in the country in total offense, 503 yards a game, and 2nd in total defense, 254.3 yards a game. They average 43.5 points a game and only give up 11. And you got to remember they've got a game with Oregon, the Oregon game mixed into all that. Their quarterback, you'll remember him from Kansas State, transfer Will Howard, 14 TDs versus 1 pick. He's having a time of his life, I think. And he was the one when they were playing TCU and Adrian got hurt. Was it 2 years ago? And they bring in Will Howard, and that's where I just went. Adrian's not getting his job back, and he never really did. Will Howard's the real deal. Big guy. He can run pretty well. What I have, he's got, if you take out the sacks, which I do, he's got 30 carries for 102 yards. They don't use him a lot. They don't really have to put him in harm's way with all the weapons they have. Let's look at those running back weapons. You got Quinshawn Jackson, almost at 500 yards, averaging. These guys are splitting these are the top two guys splitting the carries, and they're both like within reach of 1,000 yards. We'll talk about our 1,000 yards in a minute here, but yes, 6.9 yards for Jackson. Travion Henderson is already a senior. I still feel like he's the 5-star freshman that everybody wants to see more. And he's averaging 8.2 yards a carry, getting a few less. And then here's the top 2 receivers. You've got Jeremiah Smith, true freshman, 553 yards receiving already on only 32 catches, averaging over 17 yards a catch, 7 touchdowns. And if you want to go double cover him, then you got to deal with Emeka Egbuka. This is going to be such tough sledding for us. So I figured, well, let's see what Nebraska's got. Okay, even after the last 2 games, Dominic Raiola completing 66% of his passes, 1,592 yards, 9 TDs versus 6 picks. And if we're honest about it, only 4 of those are really his fault. You got 2 of those picks where we had the receivers with both hands on the ball and got it taken away. But yeah, and then he threw the 3 against Indiana. This is still such an upgrade from quarterback last year. I believe we've gone from, like 100 and freaking, 28th in offense to about 88th in offense. 88th isn't great, but if you're looking for reasons that we're 40 places better, this is the guy. We knew there'd be growing pains. We didn't want to admit it when he looked so sharp early. Now it's just a matter of settling him down a little. Don't overdo it. And guys, don't just give up the damn run game so fast. Holy cow. Because here you go. Now the good news is, for the first time, what is this, in 6-7 years? I don't know. No, Casey Thompson. With the exception of Casey Thompson, first time in many years that the quarterback's not going to, at least since Adrian got there, that the quarterback's not going to lead the team in rushing. I think since Adrian got there, every year but one, quarterbacks led the team in rushing. You've got Dowdell averaging 4.3 yards per carry, 5 TDs. Tell you what, I like having Dowdell as a guy who can punch it in. And and short yardage and inside the 5. Remember, that was a problem for a while. We did not have we were like having the quarterback try to run it in from the gun. We had what's his name slipping and falling. We had problems. Dowdell, when we get inside there, as long as we just don't try to announce the hole to them, we can get him in. Emmett's leading with 5.4 yards per carry. It seems to be the fan preference is that he gets the ball a lot more, not half of Dowdell's carries. You've got Ramir averaging 4 yards a carry, and I've just got to put most of the blame on that for, I don't know. I know he's bigger than Wan'Dale Robinson, but why are we running him up? We bring him in and run him up the middle, and I guess, hey, we're going to surprise him. It's often not a surprise, and he's not a big guy, and I don't know. He's one you want in there, and he's a pretty good blocker, I believe, too. So you want him in there to open things up, not to go, hey, here kind of, the big surprise is he's coming up the middle. I threw Barney in there only because he's averaging 14 yards a carry, and I thought they'd worked him in where we were going to see him pretty regularly, and they didn't bother trying him against Indiana. I don't get it. I didn't understand that. Receiving wise, we're spreading it around maybe too much. Do we not have? You really like to have a go-to guy, and there's all the numbers up there and everything. And it's funny because here's just some strange things. Barney. Why is Barney getting the 7-yard catches? This is one of the fastest guys on the team. Like, look at Lloyd. First of all, why aren't we getting it to Lloyd more? I mean, now we've proved it over 2 seasons. He can average over 20 yards a catch. Is he just never open short? I mean, you can set him up. You can set him up with short throws to bust him deeper instead of just, hey, let's hurl it his way. What's this about? He's getting like just over a catch a game. I feel like he should be used more. And I feel like Barney should be used deep more. I just think that's weird. Now, the guy that seemed to step up to the competition was Fedone. He had 90-something yards receiving. Looked pretty good. For God's sake, he's like 260 pounds. He's not going to be like, and he's not Brock Bowers. He's not going to be dancing around nimble, but he catches the ball. And he was, I think, about our only effective receiver in that game. Anyway, so there's kind of what we're looking at for Ohio State. It's not great. Let's hit some more. Looks like the comments are going crazy, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm kind of dancing, and I might miss a few here, but let's definitely go through these. What's this? Blue roller coaster. If you lose by 40 TDs, consider yourself lucky. Go Buffs. Let's go Buffs. The last thing I ever expected to see was that. That's funny. I really hope Rule sits Raiola this week against the Buckeyes. Let's preserve the future. No, he's our quarterback, man. Let's play him. I disagree with that. And Nebraska's wrong. It's okay to disagree. It doesn't mean like you're stupid and wrong. It's not that type of world. But I want him playing. Let's see how he does. I mean, Indiana. I don't think that I'm starting to get with some of the comments saying we didn't take Indiana seriously. Here's another one. Harburg needs to start. No, I disagree. But I understand the sentiment. Let's put it that way. But no, he's in the fire. I mean, he knew when he was named starter the first day. That means you're going to start some of these easy games, but then you're going to start against Ohio State. Let's see what he can do. Hey, and I don't know if we're going to have that Satterfield talk. I just wonder. Yeah, but we'll save it for the raging here in a bit. I'm not Satterfield smart, but why can't we put Barney in the slot and hit him on quick slants? Well, we're already doing that though. It's like that's his right now. Yeah, he leads the team in receptions and only averages 6.7 yards a catch. I think a lot of that might be safety valve stuff too, as far as design plays. Because I'm more right now of the opposite thought that why don't we see if this kid can rip the top off the defense? I mean, I hate saying, hey, he did it in the spring game, because the spring game is not Ohio State, but he's fast. He's really, really fast. Why are we just dumping it to him? Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Tiger Shark is also greeting a Colorado fan. Let's see. Fred has gone from red wine to gin to Yingling to long snack. Holy shit. Your gut is like some weird science experiment. Fred, what are you doing to yourself? I guess if all the boys play well and they're together, but there's times where I've switched the main mix in the middle of the stream and been rewarded with not much. You knew wherever Minnie was, she was going to be, somebody's saying Dylan ain't starting. Oh, hells no. We have activated this. Raiola is our quarterback, and we're lucky to have him. Is Minnie cursing uncontrollably? There, now you've done it. Let's see. Yeah, we've got a few more comments about Raiola should always start. Now here's an interesting thing, Fred Sacco. Raiola should always start, but it wouldn't hurt to let Harburg have a whole series versus 2 to 3 plays. Let Raiola see game from a different angle. I don't disagree with that. The one thing I would say is don't make it a thing. Georgia made this mistake when David Green came in and he beat out a 5-star kid. His name slips my mind. He was a great guy, great team, never left Georgia, just stayed there as the backup. But one thing Mark Richt did for him was no matter what the game was, he was going to give him like 2 series, like one in the first half, one in the second half. And even if Green was in a rhythm and it was a big game, damn it, I made the promise, I'm putting him in. Just make sure you don't do that. And I don't think that's even on the board. But I don't mind, like, if it's a game where you've had a few bad series, and let them know if I think you're getting out of let them know if I think you're getting out of sorts a little, I might put him in for a drive. Now you got to be careful there. Suppose he drives for a touchdown and then we get the Frankie London should start over Scott Frost bullshit going again. So the thing is, you can be playing with fire, but in the right situations, like, Indiana, sure, that thing gets to be the 40s. Hey, kid, this isn't happening today. It's not all your fault. Just have a seat and then give Harburg, turn the reins over to Harburg, that sort of thing. I think there's a place to it, but just saying, got to be careful how that works out. Here's Greg. Here's the thing: you can't protect Raiola 100%. That the kid's 230. He doesn't take crushing blows. He's pretty nimble. He's kind of quick. He's not like I can run, Lamar Jackson, but he's quick at avoiding things. And he actually did spin away from a lot of hits, and they got him after just keeping the pursuit going. I'm not really worried that much about him getting hurt. But yeah, if you want him to be elite, you have to show him elite competition. He won't achieve elite status from UTEP, Northern Iowa, and Purdue. Yeah. Rocky, send HH out to block. Just use HH. Use it. Let's see. There's plenty of, I think they've been doing a great job of working him in there. Raiola will learn and get better every week. And that's the thing. Even though the last 2 weeks feel like a slide, it's part of the learning process. And I believe he's always struck me as kind of mature beyond the years, and I think he understands that. You saw him get a little frustrated, but the thing is, everybody's like, oh, I can see some frustration. Well, sure, but remember the Colorado game where you have seniors, and I think we all know who we're talking about. Jimmy Horn and the Sanders boys are just throwing fits. Like as bad as it's gotten, and it's gotten worse for him in that Indiana game than it was for them in our game. Raiola doesn't lose his shit. He's a pretty calm character, and I agree. I double back to Greg's point. You've got to put him out there against the best teams, and if he's good enough to start for you now, then you keep putting him out there. Let's see. Yeah. More of the Satterfield stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Well, see, and this has been a thought of mine. I think Satterfield's I've seen a few nice calls this year, but I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna get in my main point here when we turn this wholly to the Indiana thing, which we're just about to. How bad? I really haven't heard anything on Raiola's ankle. It didn't. He was limping a little, but unless it's the high sprain, that it's a push foot. Generally, I think he can roll around, tape it up. And I just speak from a guy who spent like his high school years with tape ankles. Now they're just kind of rubbery. Let's see. Ideally, we should have done this versus the weak teams. It's too late now to drop HH in for a whole series. Yeah, Sacco and I are on the same page. When a kid is struggling, let us not make a big deal about it when we run a few planned series with another more experienced QB. Yeah, look, and I love Harburg and the fact he's sticking it out, and he's been great about taking the backup role. But that Harburg experience wasn't like great experience. I heard people going, maybe we should start him the first few games because he's more experienced. I'm like, yeah, but if you read the article I did on the quarterbacks preseason, the quarterbacks were just the quarterbacking was just god awful and cost us 5 to 6 games. And I can't put it anymore. I can go into the details, but from a time standpoint, let's just stop it at that. Let's see. I don't know what that means. Oh, God. Greg and Minnie, they're going to start infighting before their show Thursday. Minnie, what's Dylan's favorite chewing gum flavor? Oh, God, there's somebody's mother joke in there. Milfberry. Oh, I was taking laundry out of the dryer, Minnie. I have a life outside, you guys know. All right, let's talk here about, let's blow it up. Start unleashing. I'm going to start with the defense because this has been a focus of mine from the time we hired Tony White. And it's not a pat myself on the back bullshit, but it's just these concerns are becoming more and more real. Last year, we were like the 15th ranked defense or whatever. And my point was we didn't play shit. So for what my 24-hour rule column about 3 weeks ago, I broke down. I'm like, here is the offenses that defense faced last year. The highest ranked one was Illinois at 62nd, and we held them to 7, and I think Colorado maybe was 66th, Michigan was 74th, and then we played 4 of the bottom 10 offenses in the 133 Division I teams. So let's roll it around to this year, because I was on Saturday saying, okay, this is far and away the best offense they faced, and they got taken to the woodshed. I'm not saying the offense is blameless, but all I heard was Satterfield, Raiola, and I'm like, hey, this defense that everybody's been propping up as a top 20 defense, it just got trucked. And so here's who they played. UTEP's offense is currently 110th in the country in yards. I do yards because the points can be factoring in defensive points, like Iowa's kind of doing right now. Colorado is 64th. I'm going to save UNI because that's the most embarrassing one. Illinois is 92nd, and they put 31 on us and owned us in the fourth quarter. Purdue is 107th, and we got their offensive coordinator fired. Rutgers is 77th. Indiana now is 5th, and it showed. Ohio State is 6th, and they've done it against tougher competition than Indiana, so it probably doesn't get any better for the Black Shirts this weekend. After that, we've got USC's is 36th, good offense. UCLA's is 122nd, so, it's the kind of thing, because look at it, we gave up 31 to Illinois and then shut down Purdue and Rutgers, and everybody's like, the Black Shirts are back. It's like, well, no, it's still shit offenses. But yeah, UCLA is 122nd, so I can see like Ohio State putting 50 on us, USC putting 40 on us. Then we beat LSU like 17-7, and the Black Shirts are back, baby. And Wisconsin's is 56, which I think is a little higher than people thought. Theirs wasn't good last year, but now they're running some points up. And then Iowa has improved dramatically. They've gone from 133rd dead last to 102nd. So good job. We're currently 88th, and I believe we were like 128th last year. So my question was, will the 3-3-5 work in the Big Ten? Well, it worked last year against the Big Ten West because that's where shitty offenses were grown like frickin' water monkeys or whatever. That it was just such awful offense in the Big Ten West. I forgot Northern Iowa, the team that I was one of the ones going, this is a warning bell, and I'm ringing it pretty hard. And people are like, hey, what are you bitching about? They only scored 3. It's like they were keeping us on the field for 10 minutes or keeping our defense on the field for 10 minutes at a time. Like, oh, but they're really big and they're good. Guys, the Northern Iowa offense is ranked 105th in the country in 1AA and FCS. They're one, and 1AA has like about 130 teams too. So they are literally one of the worst offenses in the next division down, and they pushed us around. And I think that was my first time going, against a big team, 3-3-5. So I'm kind of back where I was when they hired White. I just don't think, because it's basically a nickel. You've got 5 defensive backs, and I get it. Luke Gifford is kind of that high, that in between position, but he's not 240, and you're going 3 down linemen and 3 linebackers against an offensive line of 5 guys those size. And I don't know that. And the thing is, even Greg Schiano says he thinks we've got a top 5 defensive line, but there's just not there's just not enough of them. And even in that Rutgers game, White did roll in another linebacker and another down lineman, so we were kind of doing a 4-4-3 after we got gashed in the first quarter by Monangai. So, oh man, I don't know. We'll see. We're facing 2 good offenses in the next 2 weeks. And if we just get rolled, if that defense just gets rolled 3 games in a row before getting back to the confines of slow, crappy offenses, and I was going to, even Whiskey might put some points on us. I thought, well, it's going to shut the door on hey, who does Tony White want a head coach next? And maybe that's the reason you didn't see many big schools coming after him, is because they could see, well, that's great. It's a nice turnaround, but they didn't play anybody. They didn't play anybody with any real weapons on offense. It's something to think about. I watched that 56-7 Indiana game, and I just can't help but think, are we worse than the Bill Bush defense when he took over, when they finally fired Chenander's swinging gate, when they were, because they were just getting ripped those first few games, and then all of a sudden they played pretty tough defense down the road. And again, maybe it was a case of that wasn't the toughest competition, but 56-7, man, it's not fire Tony White. But man, it would. Bill Bush is in the state, and for that and special teams, maybe go grab the guy. Let's see what people are thinking on that. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, here's one. Hey man, UTEP actually won a game. They are at one point, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, in the Jet, like there's a Jeff Sagarin that does power rankings where he throws in the strength of schedule, all that kind of stuff. And in Northern Iowa, I think, was ranked ahead of UTEP. UTEP was like 160th or 70th, which means they would have been in like mid 50s in the 1AA rankings. UTEP was not good. And I liked how we controlled that game, won it by a convincing score. But now I see how they've been, and I'm like, maybe that should have been a little easier. So let's see where we are. One win to go for a bowl. It's going to be I have a feeling we could be going down to the wire. I just hope we beat USC or UCLA and get that monkey off our back and seeing if that just maybe lets the floodgates open. Maybe they didn't take Indiana seriously enough. Maybe they put their foot too hard to the gas. Just want a little too much. Here's what I do with the teams I used to coach. I absolutely stole Clear Eyes Full Hearts from the Friday Night Lights TV series, because I just felt it's just a great forward attitude you should take into any sporting event. Full Hearts, that's easy. Give it your all. Clear Eyes, stay focused. If you're giving your all, but just unfocused and running around diving at every little shape you see, it's not going to go well. I'm just wondering if they were just Full Hearts and not Clear Eyes. Rule said he didn't think the effort was the issue, and I didn't really see lay down. It just felt more like getting fooled, missing assignments. So maybe they were just after it too hard, and they just need to get that bowl game down so they can relax. I don't know, but I'm throwing it out there. But yeah, 1 win to go for a bowl. Good God. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Tony's in-game adjustments and corrections have sucked. The first step is acknowledging the problem. And I go back to that Rutgers game. Why did he not figure that out till after a quarter of watching Rutgers do exactly what they had been doing for 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it was? They run Monangai at you and they keep running him, and then they'll have like didn't want to ever have to say his name, but Caliac Manis. I definitely don't want to type it again. But had Caliac Manis, throwing it 37 times a game. Now, when he made that adjustment, yeah, Schiano freaked out, stopped using him for a while. When he came back and tried, we had it shut down. And so that was a nice in-game adjustment, but it bears the question. Why isn't Schiano, maybe you put that out there for the first play and then put that other package in and shut Monangai down in the first quarter? Because once they did that, they had no answers. And another thing that scared me about that was one of Rule's quotes in the presser afterwards was, or maybe that was midweek, he was talking about that. And he talked about how, moved in the extra lineman, the extra linebacker, and said, oh, and this is a guy, man, that's so far out of his comfort zone with the 3-3-5. I'm like, oh, man. So what you're telling me is you come in every time we face a team that's going to pound the Brock at us, it's really going to make him like pull his teeth out to get the right package in there just because he loves his 3-3-5. That was a little bit. I don't like just being in love with that set. I love that there's a lot of things you can do with it, but you're still out there I just feel like undersized against some of these teams. Let's see what else we got here. Send Andy to that. They were talking about the somebody, Greg, if it's at the eye doctor, I have to say that can be dubious. And then Pitt's worried about my sight. Yeah, Illinois game, the defense was tired in the fourth quarter. I sure looked that way to me. And it feels like they're deep enough. They shouldn't be tired. And the thing about that was the time of possession in that Illinois game was almost dead even. We won it by about a minute. We were just over 30. They were just under 30. So that shouldn't have been an issue in the fourth quarter. I wondered if they were tired or if they just found some holes in the scheme or just said, fuck, they're running a 3-3-5, pound it, because they came out firing that game. And interesting. Joel Tilson, man after my own heart. I'm a 4-3 guy. I just feel there's just so much more that you can do there. You can break that down into a 3-3-5 if you want, for the passing teams and passing downs and that sort of thing. But I just don't like that as the set. I mean, we're going 5 defensive backs against here, and here was Rutgers with just the big guy package right out of the gate. And yeah, Monangai carried like 8 times for 63 yards in the first quarter. He was on his way to a huge day, and I'm glad he switched. I just don't know why you're waiting a quarter to do it, because you had to know what. Let's see. Well, let's see. Wisconsin and Ohio State, they used the 3-3-5, but I don't think it was so much their base set. I don't know. You might know more about that. I haven't done a deep dive on that. I just don't remember seeing them so much in that set as much. But sometimes in those games I tend to take the strong drink and remember little after halftime. Hey, not the home games this year. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Manny, I don't like Bill Bush sitting there unemployed. He flipped the switch on that Shenander disaster defense when Frost was fired. Because remember, they kept Shenander around for one more week, and an Oklahoma offense that wasn't really blowing people away with points, threw like 50 on us or something. Got rid of him, and then defense tightened up, and they had to sit out there a lot too. Fred Sacco, Northwestern served up cream of some Monangai in their car wash, I hear. Oh, Northwestern, you dirty pervert, you deserve it. I think we can drag Wisco, UCLA, and USC down to a gutter slap contest. Then who knows? Possible, and I wouldn't be surprised. USC can score some points. USC is just weird this year. I think they're missing Caleb Williams. Their defense is better. They're not just giving up, these crazy 40-point games. Interesting, man. I don't know. We got to see if they take another beating Saturday. You got to see how they are psychologically after 2 whippings when they thought they were on top of the world, 5-1. But at that time, our schedule up to them was only 93rd toughest in the country out of 133. So we weren't exactly playing world beaters either. And like I said, that Rutgers game doesn't look so great anymore. Yeah, Tiger Shark says Tony White will definitely lose some money and will lose more if we get destroyed again. I'd said after that Illinois game, you're going to see some of that Tony. Where's Tony White going to be a head coach next year? If he can't get out of a set, that's the thing. Here's the thing: is like I understand a defensive coordinator having a go-to set he likes. Everybody's got that more so really than I think offense. Anyway, I'll get to that. So you've got, guys who are setting their 4-3, 3-3-5, 4-2, nickel, whatever. But you've got to adjust it for the team you're playing. And I think that's where you get in trouble is he just thinks that 3-3-5 will beat anybody. And it just got torn apart Saturday. And I question, was that the right set? I don't know. Now, offensively, here's why Don Shula will always be my favorite coach. Is you get these guys that here's my offense and I'm going to run it to death. And I like the guys that say, I can run any off. You get me an offense coordinator, head coach. I want you to be able to run most anything, but let's get the best players we can and build the offense around what we got. Because you look at Don Shula, he went from Bob Greasy throws the ball 15 times a game while Larry Zonka, Mercury Morris, and Jim Kick run it down your throats for how many years? And then here was Dan Marino available at 26 or 27 or whatever it was in that draft. What did he do? Give me Dan Marino. We throw the ball. And then all of a sudden you got Clayton and Duper in Miami, that same Miami head coach. That ball's going in the air like 40, 50, 60 times a game. So get your best players and then design it around them. Don't try to pigeonhole, players in. So I don't know if that's what's going on defense. And you got to be able to adjust. I think Nebraska finishes 9-3. Tell me that is a bad record. Russell Baxter, I love your optimism. I'm going to have a drink of optimism in your name. Okay. So anyway, just get me that 6th one, and then we can talk about all that. Just the 6th one. Maybe I'm being like the players and putting all the pressure on myself to help deliver that 6th win. But it was driving me nuts at the beginning of the year. You had Herb Street doing it, and then Legions followed. Like, I think they're going to be 7-0 against Ohio State. And it's like, guys, don't you think Herb Street just really wants to see a 7-0 Nebraska-Ohio State game just from the Ohio State standpoint? Now, Herb Street doesn't hate Nebraska. He actually says nice things. We just remember the time they were voting on greatest teams of all time, and he was losing his mind. 71 Nebraska played 95, went up against 95 Nebraska in the final, and Herb Street was like, "Oh God, no!" And I remember Chris Fowler, because he was just like, "They're just stuffing it, voting over and over." And Chris Fowler goes, "Don't they have the internet in Ohio?" and everybody, even Lou Holtz was writing Herb Street that night. But no, he's generally pretty cordial about Nebraska. But that 7-0, we're going to be 7-0 shit. God, no. Jesus. It's like, tell you what, you get to 6-0, then I'll be all over. Let's go 7-0. But I didn't think 7-0 was happening. To be honest, I was okay with 5-2. Going into Rutgers, Indiana, I said I'd actually be kind of satisfied with splitting those games, because at the time they're both undefeated. Rutgers, to some, was actually looking like the tougher team just because of the way they played. And, in retrospect, that was stupid. But I was like 200. We got the next 3 teams we were playing were like combined 13-0 at that time after we were coming off the Purdue win. And I'm like, our next 3 teams are all undefeated. I'm kind of okay going 1-1 before Ohio State. I just wasn't okay with being absolutely shit on and embarrassed. That wasn't great. Yeah, I'd love it if we finish 9-3. Right now, 6-6 might be a taller hill. We got to see how we've got to see fight against Ohio State. You don't need to say, oh, we got to win that one, or we got to make it close. We just got to see steady fight. not shooting ourselves in the foot, because God knows we did enough of that against Indiana. Oh my God, this is becoming, folks. This is becoming a, oh, what to say, just kind, not legend, but it's becoming like a weekly thing. I don't think I've mentioned the movie Battleship yet today, but the first time I did, good old Pitt. He just absolutely hates how they didn't take like 2.5 days to warm up the engines on the Missouri, and it just drove him bananas. And the movie drives him bananas, and he has to throw something in about how much he hates it. And me, I love it because I love the like the fact that we're talking about realism in the movie Battleship, where they're throwing the anchors down to have a battleship basically, do a fucking, boat drift and fire on the aliens. And we're talking about aliens who apparently can develop craft to, travel the galaxy, land on Earth, and their weapons were basically, I like the rolling meat grinder. If you saw Battleship, if you didn't see Battleship, it was just kind of this thing they shot. It was just a big ball of spikes, or just almost like bent gear. It looked like a shop class thing that an alien would make. Oh no, it spins and just chews everything up, rips up the runways, just blows up, just goes through everything, goes through the boats, goes through the planes. And their other big one was a stuck bomb, where they just fire a bomb that goes doink and sticks in the deck and then blows up. So my problems with alien realism, that was bullshit alien technology, Pitt. But no, love the regular Battleship references. I do. Joel Tilson says 6-6 or 8-4. What about 7-5, man? I don't feel like you can just, we're going to finish 6-6 or 8-4, but 7-5 is not a possibility. I'm just kidding you. Pitt and Greg, I don't think our drag them into the gutter game plan is going to work the rest of the season. It's attitudinal, it's physical. We're different now. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. We've got to see how this plays out, but I didn't like getting run by Indiana. I don't know if they did it by out physicaling us. God, times we were there for tackles. Suddenly we forgot how to tackle again. Just nobody, never again with the Mike Riley. Oh, what was that? The rugby tackling. Good God, it just looked like a bunch of friend zone guys trying to hug the love of their life that doesn't want to be hugged. That's what that rugby not insulting rugby, just what our version of rugby tackling was. Let's see. Huskers over aggressive. I haven't rewatched it. There's a lot of that I got to rewatch. That could have been at times, but just you gotta, and maybe that's just pressing for the 6th win instead of, hey, wrap them up, take them down. They're trying for that kill shot. I don't know. There's a lot of I don't knows after that game. Matt Rule said it's all in the film. It probably is, and I don't know. That's one of those things where I want to see the, oh God, what movie was it where it's just, it was Miracle. I was watching some clips from Miracle again, and maybe you just need to do the Herbies. Just do some of those gassers, 10 back, 20 back, do a couple of those 50-yard gassers, and just let them have it when just so much goes wrong. I mean, it's not always the answer. That's the thing. That's not always my answer. But when things blow up that bad, and maybe you come to practice still a little frazzled with this, what the fuck just happened? And maybe the best way to knock it out of there is screw your heads on right with some gassers, and let's see if that gets you focused with a strong desire never to have to do that again. I'm not one for doing that every time. Know that about me, but maybe this is the time. You've got to pull that card every now and then. Sacco, I ain't saying it's a good plan. It's one where we win 1.68 games out of 5. That's pretty good. Thanks, Fred. Thanks for noticing. It's hard to imagine you might overlook some of the brilliance that I'm slinging. I never overlook your brilliance, Pitt. Let's see. Yeah, Tiger Shark Diver. I've been a 4-3 guy since NCAA football came out. I've been a 4-3 guy because if you remember, Nebraska up through about 91, 92 was either a 3-4 or a 5-2. Like there was like nose guard, 2 tackles. I always thought it was like nose guard, 2 tackles, 2 ends. They did a lot of that 5-2, but then they'd call those defensive ends the linebackers, but they were lining up on the line. It looked like a 5-2. And I fell in love with the 4-3 when we switched to it because that was Miami's defense. And Charlie McBride, as coaches would do, took a trip down there when whoever Miami's defensive coordinator was just giving up his stuff on the 4-3. They recruit safeties, put some pounds on them, make them linebackers. They recruit linebackers, put some pounds on them, make defensive end. All of a sudden, they've got the fastest defense on the field, and it plays hard and physical. And then, yeah, Dave McBride came back to Lincoln, and we're a 4-3 team. And you know, a year or two later, we're playing in championship games. So yeah, I'm a diehard 4-3. I feel like you're just giving up too much of the run with just 3 down linemen, and then let linebackers like help out on the line or something like that. Let's see. Oh, it looks like Minnie and Greg are still fighting. Greg, I think that's not PC calling me a sidekick because 1, I'm short, and 2, I'm not a dude. So therefore, you are the sidekick. You know, it's such a shit show. I did on Thursday. I don't think you can really assign sidekick to anybody. It's just more like whoever's feeling it at the moment. Yeah, Charles Hull. You can use the 3-3-5, but not be married to it. Bingo. Allegedly, Bama used it too. So last I recall, we were sold on it. Zadiska said it's allegedly close to our old 4-3, but you're just giving up that size, man. And because you've got 2 300-pounders, and Butler's about 250, 260. And then after that, you're dropping down to like the 240s. And you saw it, like I said, you saw it in the first quarter of Rutgers. So if a team's going to do that, maybe just be ready for it. I don't know. Indiana's doing so much stuff, but it might not have mattered what we were in. I just want to see it be competitive against top offenses. And right now we're a big 0 for 1, and we're jumping right back in the fire Saturday. Let's see. You gotta love when USC sucks. I never minded USC that much until I heard that back in the John McKay days, when you didn't have a scholarship limit, he had like 180 guys on scholarship, and he grabbed every I-back he could and would just bury them. And back then, transfer, you're sitting out that year, and now you're trying to transfer, and nobody's seen you play, which doesn't exactly open a lot of doors. And I just thought that was a really just kind of shitty thing to do. Like, I'm going to do it just because I can. I put it right up there with faking injuries to get timeouts. But they've never really bothered me. I think I always liked them better than UCLA. I don't know. They're in the Big Ten now. I'll learn to hate them. Let's see. Oh, here we go. It's not I hate Iowa week yet, but let's fire an early shot from Fred Sacco. Gutter slop contest is how they find the top Iowa cheerleader. Batmite and Scrappy Doo are 2 not good sidekicks. The thing about the Scooby-Doo show is it's just the ultimate stoner show. You got the hippies. I mean, Shaggy and Scooby are always just high as fuck, and so now you got a little kid running around in that stoner van. I don't know. I'm not going to get. There's like a Doc Severn son Ed McMahon thing going. I'm not really going to jump into that. Tony White and shit for brains Scatterfield get a timeout. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, here we go. Sheila was the best and adjusted to his personnel like the reverse Callahan, right? Yeah, One time I remember where I thought Callahan would pass. He didn't, and it absolutely worked. It was the Iowa State game one year. We had Corey Ross, and Iowa State was like last in the NCAA in pass defense. And I was thinking, we're going to light these guys up. And Callahan, I think, gave them a pile of Corey Ross runs to the tune of like 180 or 90 yards, and just ran him some more. And I'm like, this is so stupid, but it's working. Yay. You know. Oh, I want an illustration of Cobby as Groot. Get that on Thursday. I'm not your illustration guy. Let's see. A reverse Callahan sounds like a Frost move. Yeah, Fred says 9-3 would be great. So would me in an alternate universe being single, having sex with Salma Hayek on the 50-yard line. Not happening anywhere. Well, yeah, a little harsh, yes, but now I've got sex with Salma Hayek on the 50-yard line in my head, so I'm kind of in a happy place now. Yeah, Don Shield was called the young NFL genius back with the Baltimore Colts. If you ever want to read some hilarious football books by a guy who was just nothing more than basically a reserve his whole career, he was the NFL's first special teams captain. And when he went out for his first coin flip with Gino Marchetti and John Unitas, the ref went like, Captain Unitas, Captain Marchetti. And then he looked at this guy and goes, Captain who? And so Alex Hawkins was his name. He was the character. If you ever read the book Semi-Tough, it was a movie with Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopherson, written by Dan Jenkins. He was the character that Burt Reynolds' character was based on. Billy Clyde Puckett was based on Alex Hawkins' drinking and exploits, et cetera, et cetera. He wrote 2 books. One of them was about his NFL career, and then he wrote a book about his post-NFL life, which was even funnier. It's great, but there's a lot of Don Shula stories in there. He played for the Colts, went to the Falcons for a couple of years, comes back, plays with the Colts, gets back with the Colts because he was just like, being with Atlanta was the worst experience of his football life after being with a championship team for so many years. And he finally decides at about age 31 or something, it's been 10, 11 years, you know what, I'm done. And he goes into Shula's office to tell him that he's retiring. And Shula just starts laughing. He goes, thank God, man, because I was running out of ways to justify keeping him on the roster. And Hawkins like, bastard, I don't deserve that. So he goes and they have a big dinner for him. And he makes everybody go around the table. And he goes, you guys have been bagging on me for years. Tonight, every one of you has to say one nice thing about me. And Sheila was first, and he said he just starts kind of chuckling to himself and giggling and going like, well, you all know how I feel about the Hawk. Then everybody around the table starts laughing, and Hawkins is like, what the hell? This is not what I wanted. But they got around, everybody said nice things, and by the end, he's like, these are my best friends. I can't do this. He's like, he goes, damn it, I can't leave you guys. I'm unretiring. I'm back on the Colts as of right now. Said Sheila got up, like threw his drink, stormed out of the room, and then Hawkins goes, and then we chased Sheila down. I quickly retired again. We got him back in the room, and the party went on. So that was the kind of guy Hawkins was, and the kind of guy Sheila was, and he was such a straight edge. They all just loved screwing with him too. So if you want some good Sheila stories, either of the books by Alex Hawkins are wonderful. Just look up Alex Hawkins as an author. Fred talking about I thought Herb Street was going to attack Lou Holtz that night. Yeah, if you're getting dragged by Lou Holtz, man, things aren't going your way. And Herb Street was just so miserable that night. It was fun. Just a reminder, Craig James had dead hookers in his trunk, and Garth Brooks kills people. I saw Craig James on New Year's Eve, the year of the Fiesta Bowl where we smoked Florida. So I was down in Tempe for that. And here he came by, and who was going to become the concussion kid down the road. But here he was carrying little Adam on a, piggyback or whatever. And, just out with the family that night and kind of downtown Tempe no, not Tempe. Maybe it was Tempe or Scottsdale. Anyway, there he was just wandering around with the family, hanging out at the big tailgates they were having. Craig James claimed not to take anything at SMU, which is another reason never to trust him, because that either made you stupid or a liar. Tiger Shark, perfect. honestly, what are the solution Nebraska needs to solve? Let's go down the topics list. I was having too much fun with you guys there. So we talked about built. Here's the other topics: the offense, coordinate, talent. How do you feel about talent? I still feel like the line's growing. It's not great, but is it better than it was 2 years ago? I think immensely. And we just got to keep developing the young guys like we're doing. I believe in sticking with Donovan Raiola. I think he's got that steered in the right direction. I think strength and conditioning is too, unless it all falls apart after the Indiana game for the rest of the season. Then, God, I don't know what we do then. So we're waiting and seeing on that, but assuming everything's not a disaster right now, or trying to at least assume it. I think we've got a coordinator problem, and I think it's pretty glaring. So that's why I'm wondering. I know we got Glenn Thomas in to be the co-offensive coordinator and work with the quarterbacks. And yeah, and you could even see how Harburg's improved actually having a quarterbacks coach that's interested in him for the first time. Should Glenn Thomas be calling the plays? I didn't really dive into that, but does he have, I thought he had a pretty good resume as an offensive coordinator. And if we're still letting Sat call the plays, I think it's time to switch to Glenn Thomas. And if you think that's an extreme move and you can't fix it in a week, I give you Purdue the week after they played us and popped 49 on Illinois. Yeah, coordinators matter, play calling matters. Let me know your thoughts on that over there. Special teams has just entered what the fuck. I think I was already bent because it was like the beginning of the game on the Coronation tweet. I threw it out there. I said just how horribly it started, and I went, oh, and I said just for good measure, Ja'Cory Barney takes the kickoff and wanders out at the 1 yard line. I said, I got to give special teams credit. At least they're getting really creative with their fuckery. Literally the only thing that was working was the punting, and then the punting didn't go so great. And even then the punting was a disaster in that Rutgers game for a while. I mean, he got blocked twice and took a delay of game on a punt before he became the Big Ten Special Ten Players of the Week by uncorking bombs. But we've got no punt return, per usual. We haven't had a punt return, I think, since DeMorney Pearsonell, a punt returner who can make anything happen. We've got no kickoff return. And maybe they're just they are kicking away from Barney. Then they kicked to him and he went out at the 1. Our punting it's better than last year. Punting was next to last in the Big Ten, and kicking was last. Punting will be up the ladder this year. Kicking's going to be last again, if you ask me, unless Alvano comes back. Holes 1 for 5 on field. We're pretty much at the point now we can't try a field goal, and it's not all Hull's fault, because Buscini's having trouble with those snaps, and they're not all bad snaps. I don't know. Nothing's working. And again, Bill Bush is in town. Just saying. And then here's my thing. Then we're going to go and do some comments for a few minutes before we call it a night. But I'll go with the comments while they're flying. Here's my big problem beyond the defense. And I was complaining about it I let it slide for UTEP. And then no more. We are just shutting down our offense in the second half. We shut it down. We got everybody in the game against UTEP. Great. We shut it down against Northern Iowa. We shut it the hell down against Colorado. 28-0. And we're done. And it's just dive, slam, line. We want to run the ball, blah, blah, blah. But we're shutting down our offense. And then we did it. We couldn't do it against Illinois, and it did okay in the second half, but not as good as the first half. Wonder why? Because you haven't run a second half offense yet. Purdue, we came alive in the second half, but kind of had to. Rutgers, we did shut it down. I get it, windy, and everybody was having trouble with the wind. Both Callie McManus, he's not a great passer, but he's better than 15 to 37. Raiola is better than 45% or whatever he was throwing in that crap. So I kind of gave a pass there, but you're not even doing anything creative. You're doing that thing Frost would do, which would get a couple of, like a 2 touchdown lead at the half, and then just try to run the clock out in the second half. And I don't know how many of those games we lost under his watch trying to back the car into the garage. And so, yeah, here you go against Indiana. You're down 28-7. You need to come out and drive, and then the offense just turns into a train wreck again. We have just like I said, we have just not made an effort to keep it going in the second half. It matters. You need to make putting your foot on their throat a habit. I'm stronger about it now than I was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I'm going, well, I get it, but I still feel like we need that work. Going back when Nebraska used to smash everybody and then lose to Oklahoma and then maybe one other game, they would basically show up for one drive of the third quarter and then shut it down. And when Kansas State started getting better, Iowa State, Missouri, and these games were closer, and we're being in the early 90s being forced to play 4 quarters, I'm like, everybody else getting better is making Nebraska better, because now needing a big play at the end of the third quarter isn't like this shock to their system. It's not like we're blowing people out, but dudes, I mean, Signetti, after the Indiana game, people said he was on the sideline in the fourth quarter, with whoever's in there going, hey, you don't slow down one bit. You're trying to score every time. Keep your foot on the gas. He's trying to make a habit out of that, and it showed. That there wasn't going to be any comeback from 28-7. And I will absolutely say that's because here's one team that turns the car off in the second half, and another team that starts going, that keeps going 80 in the 55. You've got to work on that. I feel really strongly about that. And then, that kind of goes with, in those first few games, there was so much emphasis. Let's get everybody in those games. Look, I get it. And maybe that's playing a bit of playing the long game. You make guys want to come there, but I don't think you're losing any recruits, or because third and fourth stringers may not get into some games where you could have maybe stuck them in a little sooner. I don't think anybody's planning for that, run on the field one time, except the walk-on types, and they might be going away with the new roster rules. Who knows? But for crying out loud, worry about working on game-winning habits. And then once that game is really good and put away, and they've gotten some experience in the second half, like still running the offense, not just, running, not acting like there's 3 minutes to go and you're up by 28 and just slamming the line and letting that clock run down. They've got to learn how to play ball in the second half. And then, that's my other big bone to pick, is I think that came back and bit us on the ass big. Are we going to come back from 28-7? Maybe not. But I feel like there's a much better chance if these guys have already had a chance to get a groove going in the second half and work on that stuff. So anyway, let's see what we got going on comments. But yeah, Tiger Shark Diver, thank you, because I left that sitting up there the whole time. But yeah, that is one of the things Nebraska, that I would say those are my things that need solved. The defense, by 2 biggest things: defense, second half play. Harburg will play Saturday, have his best game as a Husker. I'd love to see it. I don't think I think he's had better games as a Husker, but I would love to see him have some big plays against Ohio State. I would love to see that. I'm just putting this up here because Lou Holtz as a human being is a giant piece of shit. So whenever people want to make fun of him, I'm all for that. And this is fairly well researched. This is a guy that wants to be sweet grandpa in public, but in private is a giant turd. So let's see. So yes, Duffer and Thuckatash. I always made fun of how like Mark May and Trev would have to wear raincoats, or they should put one of those like those Andy Reid COVID welders helmets or welders shields over his face to just think what that would look like from the inside of that shield if Lou Holtz is talking. It would just look like birds were crapping out of his mouth. Yeah, Charles, glad I could be there for you. I complained about special teams, and it's like it's a disaster. That is something. Special teams is something that needs that we can't go with, hey, let's just keep working it out. It's fine. It's not fine. It needs someone else in charge of it, and it needs it now. that is the one position I will say no, that needs to happen now. I would say we're definitely leaning that way towards Satterfield. He's not going to do it, and I don't think you ever do it really off of one game. But is it really just one game with Sat? I mean, I don't know if that second half shit is him or Rule telling you this is when I want to go dominate and run the ball, and all we're doing is setting team records for 3 and outs in the second half because they know we're doing that. Yeah. Let's see. I wasn't into being shit on and embarrassed. Our former head coach paid a lot of money for that kind of action. Oh, God. There's nothing I like any better than when somebody says something that can be compared to a deviant sex act and you point out right away, like, $50 to get that treatment when I used to be into that. Yeah, Joel Tilson wants to know if he got our special teams coach from the want ads. Yeah, we're getting a little below the belt, but you know what? It's a little tough to watch. It was like watching a smelly, piss-stained bum shit in the middle of the dining room of my childhood home while he watched Battleship on his phone pit snipe. Let's see. Oh, God, what many Greg thinks he has a cannon after Blue Chew. Battleship. Pitt wants me to watch the Battered Bastards of Baseball. It's on my list. I do. I have it marked. It's going to happen. I don't see how it can possibly exceed the screenwriting, the special effects, the American naval realism of Battleship. I just don't know. We'll see what happens. I am going to give it a chance. If they, I don't know if they've been together that whole time, but they've been together a lot. I know he was at Baylor. How dare you, Joel Tilson? Battleship was amazing. Hey, George Lucas, a made-up George Lucas quote was that he said, "Battleship exceeds, the Return of the Jedi." I don't know. God, okay. I'm gonna take some of the swords out of Ed Foley here for a little bit. Oh, God, Navy SEALs circa 1990-ish was a more accurate story, and it was awful. Navy SEALs might be the worst military movie I've seen. I mean, that was one that I wanted it to be. So I really wanted it to be good. I wanted Navy SEALs to be good, and I get like 15 minutes in, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Even had Joanne Whaley Kilmer, or Joanne Whaley, whatever her name was, and just absolute goddess of like the 80s, 90s. She was in it. Michael Biehn from the Terminator and Aliens, Charlie Sheen, where they're like, hey, how do you want me to play this? And you just know the director told Charlie, you just be you, buddy, because Charlie's out there drinking and driving and just going absolutely bananas. He had to have the most fun, and it was awful. It was boring. It was it wasn't even fun bad. Battleship's fun bad for me. That was just bad. All right, let's see. Oh, with the have to throw this out there with the success of Dune and Dune 2. It's like we have our hand in the pain box and our opponent has the Gom Jabbar pointed at our neck. Yeah, but they don't kill us though. I guess we're just getting that hand roasted. But then, hey, nothing's wrong, and come back next week. That's an A number one. That's an A number one. Shit, now I can't think of the fancy words. Comparison there. I like that. I like that a lot. Tell me the difference between IUBB Indiana basketball fans and Nebraska football fans. There is none. IU wants Woodson fired. Yeah, if there is an upside of this, they handed us our ass in football, but we beat them 3 times last year in basketball, which I remember that was what really set them on the fire Woodson train. Is losing to Nebraska 3 times was unacceptable. Losing to Nebraska once is unacceptable to them. Well, you return the favor in spades. Screw you, Indiana. Let's see. Pitt, I've been a 4-3 guy since Landry in New York. That's going back. Let's see. We were a 5-2 till after the G-Tech Bowl. Yeah, because that was 91, I believe. Here's a little fun fact for 90 and 91. I believe the Huskers lost 5 games total in those. This is how I do like, hey, I think we're turning this around a little, because I don't know that anybody can say this has ever happened. In 90 and 91, we lost 5 games, and 4 of them were to the co-national champions. The Miami and Washington were co-national champs in 90, I believe. We lost to Washington in the regular season and lost to Miami in, naturally, the Orange Bowl. And then next year, Georgia Tech and Colorado were the co-national champions. Colorado rode a 5th down and a missed clip, or a phantom clip against Notre Dame to get one of the titles. They beat, we played in the regular season, and then we went down. I think it was in the Gator Bowl, maybe, played Georgia Tech and lost to them. Got down 21-0, and then they took out Scott Baldwin and who was the guy out throwing the one hoppers? Mike Grant. Because Mike Grant they said he looked like a Heisman guy in practice, and then would just throw one hoppers in a game, and they took them out for Tom Haas and freshman Derek Brown, and then they ended up losing, I think, like 42-21, so they played him even after that. But yeah, 4 national champions out of 5 losses in those 2 years. That's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, started off 5-2, then it went 4-3 around 90-91. 5-2-4 ain't bad either. Yeah. Let's see. I think I think Hullett's talking about the current dunes. Yeah, the one dune with a giant storm at the end with Kyle McLaughlin and all that. That one was tough. Let's see. Yeah. I don't think it's ideal, but there's a place for it. Here's the thing: when you yell Andy at me, I'm not really watching the comments. You need to tell me which offense it was. It was probably the sex acts, but anyway. Hey, I didn't describe any of them in detail, so you've got a dirty mind. Let's see. Allegedly, 335 is basically the 4-3 from what Zadiska and others have said. Yeah, but it's just with smaller dudes. Let's see. Did you just call our show a shit show? Yeah, I did. What of it? You should embrace that. Come on, man. And also, I was hoping for a reaction too, so thank you. I was starting to wonder where you were, man. Come on, Greg. Let's see. It's a wonderful show, except when it's a shit show. All right, let's see. 5-2 during Switzer's time, and I think because he was gone by early night. Was he gone yet? Early 90s? Can't remember. It was right around there when it was the guns and the guns and cocaine got him knocked out of there. And that's probably about when Jerry hired him, because he got taught. I can't remember if he got tossed from Oklahoma or if the Jerry hiring him to Dallas was simultaneous. Fuck it, it's Oklahoma. I don't need details. Yeah, should have switched to the 4-3 at 84. Oh god, yeah. I could talk about some of the goofy stuff they did where the defense was kind of an afterthought in those days, and then finally a Miami came along. Let's see. Oh, I wasn't talking about your jingles, and I got one from Minnie too. I wasn't talking about your jingles and manners and full descriptions for videos and graphics. I know, I'm still working on that. See, because John told me at one point I couldn't do videos. He said that it wouldn't allow it, and so yeah, we're working on it. Let's see. Zach, yes. Osborne McBride always ran an over or under linebacker set that put a linebacker on the line. Maybe they blitzed, maybe they dropped into pass coverage. They do a lot of that. Now, the one time I remember, and there's still bitterness, I think, over this, was that infamous, Colorado 60 whatever game, 62-28, whatever it was, game where we just got rolled. I think we were down like 35-7 early in the second quarter, and they were just running up the gut. And that's when Craig Bowl was the coordinator, and he had that defensive line like just really spread, and then the middle linebacker up over the center. So the center's just destroying the middle linebacker, pushing him whichever way he wants him to go. And they were just blowing it up the middle, and there was no contact till they were already 7-8 yards downfield because middle linebacker's gone. Yeah, that was that. Yeah. that's not what Osborne was doing, but that gave me PTSD there. So there you go. Let's see. Wrong. Okay, Russell Baxter says wrong. IU has sold out the stadium for the remaining games unless Nebraska bought up tickets. But had they sold out any games before that? Was the number I heard was that was their 8th sellout ever. So maybe now that they beat Nebraska, everybody believes and they're selling out. So we'll see if that's true. That could be. They say the 3-3-5 allows more blitzes, but clearly to blitz we need larger linemen like James Williams, not short linebackers blitzing. And also, if the 3-3-5 makes it easier to blitz, why aren't we blitzing? We barely blitzed at the start of the season. It's like, and I guess, sure, maybe I've got wrinkles I want to hide. Well, they've got tape from last year too, so you can still run, old sets. I don't know. It just felt like, and I get it, we're getting pressure, but we weren't getting pressure. Previous to Indiana, I should say, we're getting pressure, but we weren't getting pressure Saturday. I'm not going to read Fred's pickle comment about Callahan. Probably with the 3-4 and a 3-3-5 is you have to have 300-pound linemen and 2 outside linebackers that are NFL size, 6'3", 5", 270-pounder that can run. I don't even know if you need to go that big on the linebackers, but you got to go bigger. And we don't have huge linebackers. I mean, Bullock's still having a heck of a year, but Bullock is like 225. He was like 190 in high school. So you're not making him much bigger. I don't know, but you're on the right track there, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, there's back to the Alex Hawkins. It was a great old NFL film. He did games. He did stuff because they loved him because he was funny, and and then for NFL films they could edit out the shit he shouldn't have been saying. But he did the games on CBS for a few years, and then I don't know if this was the one that got him canned. They had him doing the Pro Bowl, and Jake Scott was all-pro safety for Miami. Well, he had 2 broken thumbs, and I think he played the Super Bowl with 2 broken thumbs, but wasn't about to play in the Pro Bowl. But he was there, and they brought him up in the booth, and I think Alex asked him, hey, what's the toughest thing about having 2 broken thumbs? And Jake Scott said, well, when you need to go to the bathroom, you find out who your real friends are. No, I know what it was that got Alex in trouble. So they were doing a game in New Orleans at the Superdome. Well, some wire fell down, live wire or something fell down in one of the upper decks or hallways or whatever. And some guy in a down coat, it hit the coat and set him on fire. And the cameras caught this guy, I think, running around, like waving his arms around, like he's not like enveloped in flame, but like the arm of this coat was on fire, supposedly. This is in the book. And he's waving it around. And without stopping to think, Hawkins like saw that pop up on the screen and just went, well, looks like it's going to be a hot time in the old town tonight. They said you could have heard a pin drop in the truck. And he was told like immediately after the game, come see me by his boss. And I think that was it for him. Let's see. Oh, let's get it. Scatterfield is like Mr. Coach Klein and Waterboy having a panic attack and humping a football. I don't know. Is he running around in the high heels too? Oh God. Let's see. You're right, TSD. The 3-3-5 worked because of the size of our guys, but then they adjusted it to quarters in the backfield. Yep. See, we wish we had Coach Klein. Hey, only if he comes with the water boy, baby. I got to say, the water boy was one of my favorite movie pods that we did this summer. Good times. Fred Sacco, couldn't agree more. Craig James is a little bitch, as was his kid. Now get back in the electrical closet. Well, just the way that the more I read about that, the more I realized that like Craig James was the total helicopter parent. Well, here's the thing: when a coach gets fired, under like player abuse type of stuff, the easiest way to figure out what a guy this coach is how the people who coached and played for him come out of the woodwork when they start digging for these interviews. When, like, take Mark Mangino, for example. When he got fired, former players came out and were just piling on this guy who made me miserable. He's a piece of shit, screams at you nonstop, and apparently his thing was it just went for the worst things, like, makes fun of a kid's alcoholic dad stuff. Tells a black kid, I'm gonna, you don't play better, I'm sending you back to the projects in East St. Louis where I found you, stuff like that. When Leach got fired, here, like, the coaches talking about, they said, well, here's how annoying Craig James was they said he just called Leach nonstop to beg for more playing time for Adam James. I guess Adam James wasn't that big of a bitch. I guess he was just, he knew he was playing where he deserved. He wasn't whining. It was all Daddy doing the whining, and there was just no stopping him. And he also didn't think he was mistreated anyway, with at least the one article I read. He didn't think he was mistreated anyway with the whole concussion stuff. And then it turned out the electrical closet was actually a restroom. It had like a couch, a TV, a pinball machine. It wasn't like he was stuffed in, some locker box, in a prison camp or something like that. But then players and coaches were just like, some of the players, to be fair, did say he was a little bit of a whiner. But yeah, they said that Mike Leach would get Craig James on the phone and like shush everybody. If the coaches were in the room, where you call him in, shush him, and then let everybody listen to Craig James whining for Adam to play more. I don't know. We'll take a look there. There, Craig. Thanks for calling. And yeah, Craig James, whiner. I think we just need more linemen with anger management problems like Mazkua. They're soft. Well, here's the thing. Ben Scott, I think, has those anger management issues, like that, because last year he took 2 or 3 really like dirty, I'm leveling this motherfucker type penalties, and I don't think he's gotten any this year. So I like keeping it under control. I don't think they're soft. I don't know. We can argue about that. I don't think we'll solve that tonight. Glenn Thomas, Dave Thomas, Doubting Thomas. Fuck it, anyone else at this point. Satterfield is Tim Beck light. I hate to bring this up. I think I brought it up on Greg's 400th show. Hey, congrats again, Greg. That Tim Beck light. Tim Beck is Vanderbilt's offensive coordinator right now. So Tim Beck just beat Alabama with Vanderbilt. So what could you say? I never minded Tim Beck as an offensive coordinator. I thought he was pretty decent. I thought he mixed it up pretty well. I'm pretty sure we are angry now. Gift said today, guys are pissed off. Sounds encouraging. Yeah, I like that better than you don't need to drive it. If they know, they know. I think that I prefer more anger management problems. Case in point, Sue, Peters, Incognito, Phillips. I'm not really going to include Incognito in there. I still think he belongs in a jail. But yeah, that Phillips, I don't know, again, I like the anger management issues. I like them controlled. I don't want to worry about if they're playing or not. And here's the thing about Mazkua. His anger management wasn't helping him. He had dropped out of the number 1, I guess, spot against Colorado. And so it wasn't, hey, I'm crushing guys on the field, but freaking out. It was like, I'm not playing that great either. Let's see what else. Any coaches getting a pink slip? I think we're a little early on pink slips. They were 5-1. I don't think you hand out pink slips when you drop to 5-2. Satterfield into the year, if it doesn't get any better, I don't think he'll do it. And then our discussion gets to be one that I think started with Callahan when his friendship was more important than the team, when he wouldn't get rid of Cosgrove. And then Pelini kind of went through the same thing, if we're honest, with, oh God, who was that linebackers coach? Drove me nuts. It's like we took a guy who had never been anything but a GA, Papuchis, made him a linebackers coach, then made him like the interim head coach when Pelini had to leave the one game early. It's like, what the hell is that guy doing as interim head coach? And then made him a defensive coordinator, and defense took a step back from Carl Pelini under Papuchis, I thought. But no, things would really have to hit the shit, which is kind of what we're waiting to see if happens after this Indiana debacle. Is this going to be the guide for the rest of the season? I don't know. Shit, we're over 2 hours here, so we're gonna try and rush through here, guys. Thank you so much for the comments. I definitely keep them coming. This was a night where I wanted comments to kind of carry the day. Let's see, is Bill Bush interested in coming back? I'd love for someone to ask him the question. There, was that too strong? I don't care. Let's see. There's a whole state prison, county lockdown, and municipal Huskers. Remember Rambus? Who's Rambus? I think I've just jumped into the middle of a convo there. Notre Dame gets into the playoffs before IU due to strength of schedule. No, fuck Notre Dame. Notre Dame gets enough shit handed to them because they're Notre Dame. I don't. No. The Mean Machine. Mean Machine. There's a great Mean Machine soccer version with Vinnie Jones, where it's basically the Longest Yard movie, only like a Welsh prison. It's a lot of fun. A not yet really discovered Jason Statham plays the psycho goalie. He's kind of the equivalent of Shatner in the original Longest Yard. It's like, how many guys has he killed? 7 on the outside, 6 since he's been in here. It's like, oh, that karate is bad stuff. He's like, oh, that was before he learned karate. But yeah, so Statham's wonderful, and it kind of played. He's not really a martial arts guy, but he's just an absolute psycho, and it's wonderful. Let's see. I'm thinking maybe you had the plan: brawl, foul, spit, kick, taunt, and piss all over an opponent to the tune of 100+ yards, and then slap the bitches. Funny thing, I was just told the story of the time where they literally intentionally did it, and I was actually for it. It was when they went and played Texas in the Cotton Bowl one year, and they were greeted by a Cotton Bowl. You've got to go to all the dinners and crap in the days leading up to the game. And every bit of it was just redneck city. It was just country music and redneck this and all that. And apparently pissed Miami off so bad. They were just like, fuck these guys. And they went out there with like a predetermined plan to just beat the shit out of Texas, take unsportsmanlike taunting penalties, cheap shot them, and just beat them up. And then and they took, I think, like 220 yards in penalties and beat them like 40-something to 3. Like, they would be driving, take penalties, then get the first down, take penalties. And as much as I can't stand Miami, I just kind of love them doing that to Texas. I don't know if I'd cheer for Miami every time against Texas. But that, I didn't know that at the time. That was something I read a few years later, and I was just like, oh, I got to go back and watch that game again. And it's glorious. It really is. Tiger Shark, here we go. Back to serious talk. I hate to say it, but we're between a rock and a hard place right now. We can't kick, can't run, no explosive plays outside of Barney, who we're only passing to for 7-yard gains, which they know he's getting the ball on a sweep, and he's still getting 13 yards of carry. Hey, make him stop it. I like the way they set those up too. Not to completely shit on Satterfield's head, and you owe me $50 for that, Satterfield. But he does. There's a few plays he's designed, so it's not 100% crap. It's just more the overall crap. Osborne's formula was to control the clock, pound the rock. Yeah, although, man, we got later on. He became a big believer in explosive plays too, and I felt like in the 94 to 97 run. Let's see. Tiger Shark says, I will say my Husker prayer that it's like 2011 Ohio State where we came back. I was a student in the stands. Nice. Unfortunately, what we need is no good backup. We need Joe Bowserman coming off the bench again. I will say that's one of the few times where I made a call about 5 minutes into the game and it happened. And I said, Braxton Miller just got crushed a couple of times. And I said, this guy, if he does that all game, he's not going to finish the game. And he was going out and he wasn't sliding, and he wasn't a big guy. When he got hit, he took the brunt of it. He was not real delivering any strong running hits on anybody. And then finally, yeah, boom, he was done, and that was it. Pat myself on the back for that one. That's a true story. Let's see. True Tilson, his formula also included under academic achievers, a JUCO minor league, and infinite confidence in every human's ability to overcome their roots. That's the thing. That was the worst thing that we let Texas do, was they put the rule in for the Big 12 about the JUCO stuff, where like having the guys buried in the JUCOs. I think it was only something where you could get them from inside your own state, and we just didn't have much, and then Texas just had scads of them, and it was one of those things that the rest of the conference, voted just with Texas just to piss off Nebraska after years of getting beat. And T.O. would tell them, this is going to bite you guys in the ass too. I know you think it's cute and funny, but you're screwing yourselves as well as us. And then he got out first, which was funny. Oh, Big 12, God. Yeah, Lou Holtz refused a player's scholarship that was a top recruit. Oh, yeah, that's Damien Peters. Peter. Yeah, the youngest Peter brothers. Yeah, so that was one thing. You want to see Jason Peter lose his shit, bring that up. I literally think he might just tear Lou Holtz apart like Predator ripping a human in half if he ever met Lou Holtz in person. Yeah, because he picks Notre Dame over Nebraska. Osborne's a gentleman about it. Hey, we wish you the best of luck. You change your mind. Here we are. And not only that, Lou didn't even know that he existed after he was paralyzed. And Osborne visited him in the hospital regularly, and I think he put him on scholarship at Nebraska, like got him a scholarship at Nebraska. So he took it's like Dr. Tom. I don't like the way you're trying to take away our booze and our porn, but you mean well. Let's see. I'm just going to punch the new comments button and go to the bottom here. We're at 208. Let's see what we got. If it's like 2011 Ohio State game, which Husker coach gets caught on audio saying fuck the fans afterwards? Yeah, like 6 years, or was it like it was months after that, or a couple months. Interesting. See, they took away the Prop 48s. Yeah, that was it. Yet they had tons of JUCOs to pick from. Yeah, Prop 48. That hurt us, because we had to have something to kind of even the playing floor when everybody else's radius is much more rife with recruits than ours. Hey, our yous are supposed to teach people, right? Damn it, I hate how that gets turned against kids. I still like the Rick, not Rick Riley, the one who wrote for Sports Illustrated and played at Northwestern, but he wrote the book The 100-Yard Lie, where back in 1991, he has a suggestion that's getting really close to where things are ending up. He was like, we got to pay the players. It's ridiculous we don't. But first of all, he wanted the NFL kicking in to help subsidize it because they've just got their free minor league. And he goes, this is all bullshit because the NFL will never agree to it. But his way of doing it was you do form a top tier, and it's just called, they are professional football teams sponsored by the university. So still got your logos, still got universities, but they're all making a solid set salary. And the thing was, they're not allowed to go to school while they're playing. He's like, this is bullshit that these guys are expected to go be a full-time student, but then dedicate hours of every day to football. He goes, it's just too much. So what you do is you don't go to school, but for every year you play in that top tier, then you get a free, for every year playing that top tier, you get a free year of like a free scholarship, room and board, that you can take at any time in your life. That's good till death. And so if you play 4 years there, you got a 4-year scholarship, and then you can come back and do school at your leisure at that point. So maybe, you know, so it gives you the option at least for free school, say, play there, play in the NFL for 10 years. Now I can go back to school for free. And for the time they put in, it's not the worst idea. Then below that, and this is the answer I have for people that think everybody should get paid but the players, which is ludicrous. Like, hey, $1 billion TV deals, players, be happy with your scholarship. Well, you go lower, then there's no TV deals. Everybody's a full-time college students. You're only allowed 2 hours of practice, kind of like high school, 2 hours of practice a day, you know, 5 days a week or whatever. And the football coach has to be a professor, a teacher on staff teaching at least one full-time class at the university. And not a bad idea. This is how, and I think that's how it all might kind of shake out eventually at the levels where there's not a ton of money in it for them. Let's see. And then you can jump back and forth between the two if you want. It was fairly flexible for the players. Osborne took 2 3-star players, made them all Americans. Yeah, and walk-ons. Yeah, back then you didn't have like just the full book of recruiting info like you do now. And you had, it was a lot easier to go out and find that guy that no one had ever seen. Let's see. Shit, these days I think Lou outweighs Jason. Does he? I hope so. I hope you're getting fat and miserable. I think Randy Gregory was JUCO. I think he was. One more insult for Iowa. Iowa cheerleaders' radius is also massive. Nothing that Randy G did would be against the rules or against the law now. Oh, shit. Iowa NIL is 4 Applebee's gift cards and 4 press nut rolls from, I'm assuming that's Stuckey's, the Iowa way. That's coming next year. All right. Future. Yeah. Well, apparently it's there that you've got $22 million to pay. Like the number now is $22 million for a payroll for all the athletes in every sport. And the way I understand it, for most people, 75% of that's going to go to football, the next 10% to basketball, and then they can dribble the rest the way they. I mean, what they're going to do is they're probably going to be paying players whose sports generate some money, you know. And I don't have a problem with that. It's, you know, it's for me, it's big boy sports. I mean, you wanted to get paid, you're getting paid. Well, here's what happens with getting paid. It's now there's a little more there's actual economics involved. We're not going to pay the rowing team, you know, $50,000 a year to a sport that no one really pays to go see. I'm fine with that because, you know, it's not just like coddle the kids, drop money on them, no responsibilities. Like I said, I don't know how those contracts work. Can there be performance bonuses in there? Is there a minimum salary that's huge performance bonuses to where, hey, you're going to make, you know, your $30,000 a year, but you get up to this, but then you've still got to be offering them deals that are competitive with other schools. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with all that, as opposed to we own you, you don't make anything. Coaches can leave whenever. Anyway, we're 2:13 in. This might be my longest show ever. We had a lot to talk about tonight, though. That's that was a rough game. Let's see. Before we go, here we go. Merch at cobbycorn.com. Support us. Get a CN t-shirt. I've got too much cobby. I got too much cobby Corn Nation apparel around. Hey John, if you're watching, we need a nice like Izod, like polo or whatever. I want something classy to wear into the press box with Corn Nation on it. And then remember to join Corn Nation's YouTube as a member. We appreciate the support. Don't forget about Monday Night Therapy with John. The day is self-explanatory. Thursday night, you got the 5 Heart with Greg and Minnie. You never know when I might sneak onto the set and give them shit. But anyway, thanks again so much, everybody. Hopefully it'll be a stretch, but hopefully it's a little happier next Tuesday. Thanks for not giving me too much shit about taking a Tuesday off. We'll see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. I'll I'll work on some more cool graphics and backgrounds and jingles and flying monkeys, Minnie. She might be out picking up her daughter now. Who knows? All right. We'll see you next Tuesday. Be good. And whoop, not that. Hold on. I've got a banner here somewhere. All right. Here's the goodbye music.